We are live.
All right, welcome to Owning Divorce. I'm Aaron Katz.
I'm Curtis Pryce.
As always, follow us on social media. We've got a bunch of groups down below in our details. Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and I think we're on TikTok. And at some point, we're going to be on what's that chat app that you had me sign up for that I actually use?
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Yes. We're eventually going to get around to doing one in Clubhouse.
You're liking Clubhouse, aren't you?
I like it. I really thought I would not like it. There's some fun rooms in there. I was in there a while back, and there's a room called Sliding into Someone's DM.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Turns out like 20-year-olds make dating way more complicated than it has to be.
Wow.
It's this
Oh,
whole
man,
thing
I got
of
to check it out.
Oh, it's insane. So instead of, using a dating app or meeting someone at a bar, you stalk someone on IG, and then you start responding to their stories. And then after, it's like this whole like, notice me. And then after a while, you send them, be like, hey, I noticed, I've been stalking you. Let's go grab a drink or something. I don't understand how it works out, honestly. If like some woman that I don't know started liking my stories on IG, I have a public account and everything, and then all of a sudden sent me something, be like, hey, let's grab a drink, I'd be like, okay, she wants my kidney. That's what my response would be. So, but yeah, no, it was like a whole thing. It was hilarious. I was just sitting there like fly on a wall, like listening to it.
Talking to the kids. Yeah, usually like when my girlfriend and I, when we hang out with other people, they tend to be like late 30s or early 30s, late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
And it comes up a lot, like, so like, do you date it? I'm just curious too. So I ask like dating apps, how do you find people to hook up? And a lot of people talk about Instagram. It's a thing. So like you slide into the DMs. Yeah, it's exactly what you described. Like you like their stories, right? You get them to respond, they respond to you, you start liking each other's stories, and it goes from there. Apparently it's funny because it's something I've never done, but yeah,
it's way too complicated. It's way too complicated. So what is it on the Facebook group that we're both on today? It popped up, and this guy was saying, you never ask a woman out immediately in the first couple exchanges. You got to build interest, you got to do that, you got to do this. And I'm thinking, that's exactly what I do. I ask women out really quickly. Most of the time, they're really great. Like, I've gotten a lot of women be like, thank you for just asking me out and not spending 2 weeks chatting with me. I don't know, maybe it's just the age group that I'm with. I'm dating the 35 to 45-year-old. If I was dating 25 to 35 or 20 to 30, I'd probably be hopelessly lost. But yeah, it just seems very counterintuitive. But you know what? You do you. If it works for you, great. If it makes you feel like you're doing something, even though you're doing nothing, yeah. There was a song a couple years ago about when Facebook was still big, about your creepy guy that you know on Facebook who comments on all your pictures. So just putting that out there. I'm sure you can dig that up on YouTube or something.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I lost a thought. Go ahead.
No worries, man. No
Oh,
worries.
actually, you know what? In that Facebook group, that's what it was. I also saw another one where like this guy was like, "Hey, I invited this girl out." She says when and where. He says when and where, and she sends him like a bunch of emojis. But like she repeats the place. It's a place that's like a sporting bar, so they have games.
Oh, I saw that. I know the place because I used to go there when I was in Boston.
What? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jillian's, right?
Jillian's. Yeah, it's a cool place. They got this is 20 years ago, but they had pool and arcades and VR and a full bar. And so Boston's an interesting city, and I'm sure it's changed since I've been there, but because Boston has so many colleges, the locals hate college kids, right?
Because all the colleges,
Yeah. But when the college kids clear out, Bostonians are like the friendliest fucking people. They'll like
that's
talk
been
to
my
you in
experience.
bars and like, yeah.
I love the city. People are cool.
Yeah, no, Boston, I mean, I haven't been there in a while, but people were such dicks to me because I was there, I went to Boston University, but on breaks when I was there, because I had an apartment, I stayed in off-campus housing my last 2 years and I went to bars, totally different. People were friendly and outgoing and, with a thick Boston accent, wicked pissa, all that. Yeah. So
But
yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
Yeah.
she like replied. She put like a little target sign, a check, a happy face, and then like an upside down happy face. And he was all insecure about the upside down happy face. I'm like, she's down, dude, and she's being like flirty. Like,
Yeah,
you're
dude.
all set. Don't worry about it.
Don't overthink it, man. Don't overthink it. I think that is the worst thing that you can do in terms of dating is overthinking it. Go for it. What's the worst that happens? Right? If you have a bad date or she says no, as long as you don't do anything that could end up with you being in jail, you're good. So yeah. I saw that too. I saw everything. But also, congrats, Curtis. I saw that the apocalypse is over for you. You got your yeah.
Yeah, I got my first shot. And I think by next week I'll be at like 80% immunity.
Nice.
Whoop. Yeah,
So is Bill Gates tracking you now?
for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, we talk. We
Okay.
actually talk. I lay in bed at night and talk to him. It's pretty nice
Really?
stuff. Yeah.
Anything interesting that he's working on for the future? So
I can't tell.
yeah.
I've been sworn to
You've been sworn to
secrecy.
secret. I get it,
Yeah.
man. I get it. Yeah,
When you get
yeah.
your shot, you'll know.
Oh no, I know. I'm gonna be like the last person in the States to probably get it. Not that I don't believe in it, but there's so many people ahead of me in line. I don't have any autoimmune diseases. I'm in good shape. I work from home, so I don't work around other people. I don't have kids. Um, and also I'm secretly hoping in other countries that, for the kids, they're doing like free pizzas or a shot with a shot. So I'm hoping to get a pizza or like a beer out of it or something.
Some incentive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to get it anyway, but there's so many other people that need it before me. So I'm just like, I'll wait. I'm not in a rush. I'm so low risk
Yeah.
for getting it. And even if I do, everyone I know who's in as good a shape as me has gotten it, has had maybe like a fever for a day or two. There's always that case in the news of like the really good guy, the person who's in great shape who nearly died, but that's the exception, not the rule.
I had no problems. Maybe a little ran down, like maybe. I'm not
Yeah.
even sure. I felt mostly fine. My girlfriend got it as well. She had a sore arm.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah, your girlfriend's in. I mean, she's a massage
Yeah.
therapist, right?
She
She's in
qualifies as like a healthcare.
Yeah. My massage therapist also qualifies for that. So
Yeah.
anytime you're in healthcare, I mean, it makes sense. You're touching people, and it's your job, so you probably should get it.
Yeah, they're actively seeing
So,
people. Plus, play
so yeah.
parties, aka orgies, are starting to open back up.
Oh,
You have your
fuck,
vaccine
dude.
card.
You have to show up with like a little laminated like punch card or not punch card, but like yeah. Okay.
You get a card from the CDC. It's like an official vaccination record card.
Okay.
And the play parties I've been investigating,
Yeah.
and they require that you submit proof of your vaccination. So
there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of fluids going around. So you want to make sure that there's no COVID in the fluids.
Yeah, and like
sense.
in a lot of polyamory circles or kink circles, people actually require like STD proof, like a recent STD test. It's funny because I think in the future you're gonna be like, here's my COVID test and here are my STD tests.
There you go. Just put it all on a Google Doc and share it, right?
Yeah.
Sounds way too complicated for me. Way too complicated. I'm very happy with the one woman. We've both been tested. We're good.
Awesome.
It's easy. So yeah, congrats on that. And then on another, I guess, joy to me, I got a tax refund, which is really cool because when I was married, we always owed a lot of money. I don't really get why. But I put in how much I made and it'd be like, oh, look, we get all this money back. Then I'd put how much my ex made and be like, oh, now we owe all this money.
Must have been like her
So
withholding or something.
yeah, I talked to her a bunch of times and she could never figure it out.
Mm.
So I don't really know. Um, there's all these articles this time of year about people getting refunds. Be like, well, actually, when you're getting a refund, you're just giving the government an interest-free loan.
It is true.
And I'm like, dude, so what? So what? Who cares? I would rather give the government like an interest-free loan for a little bit than owe them money because it's like, yay, I get money back. I'm excited. I get excited when I get money and I'm not expecting money
Yeah,
versus when you pay taxes and yeah.
the same thing. Yeah, it's and it's a pain to manage, and it can be a big hit. I'm gonna have a mess this year
Huh?
because we sold our house.
Yeah.
I had a lot of earnings early last year, but then I haven't had as many earnings towards the end of 2020. So it's like it's gonna be a mess, man.
Yeah. Well,
And I found out about mid-year that my withholding was off. It was too low. So
oh,
it's gonna bite me.
dang. On the plus side, the first was it 10,200 of unemployment are now tax free.
Oh, nice.
So yeah. Go Biden.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
I
So
know. There's a lot of like COVID relief stuff that's coming through that I'm like, come on,
come on, payday. I need the money. I need the money.
survive.
Yep. So this brings us to our topic for today. I figure we do something a little more fun. So I read a lot of blogs on dating advice and articles. They pop up on my news feed, and some of them just make me really sad. They just seem so off. Dating can be very, very complicated, and it's just like you're making dating more complicated than it has to be. So I'm just going to point out some articles that I've read, and I think we both contributed to this. And like some of these topics and articles, you're just reading, scratching your head, being like, "What? That seems really counterintuitive." And you're still single, and it's your fault that you're still single because you're doing these things. And some of these were really, really spot on. I saw some of these. There's one of them, and I'll talk about it a little later, that I know that women have done to me, and it's evidently like just seeing how like laid back you are. I mean, it takes a lot to get me riled up, so I guess I always pass that one with flying colors. It's such a minor test that it doesn't register with me, but I guess there's a percentage of guys that just get so upset over it and they know to cross that guy off. So yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So the way this came up is I'm going to be honest, dating confuses the hell out of me, right? And I'm saying it as a guy who's been consistently dating a series of very attractive women who somehow like going out with me, voluntarily sleep with me, all this stuff for the past year and a half. I haven't had a lot of dry spells. It's been, was it 3 to 4 weeks of crazy dating. I find someone, I'm head over heels for them. Relationship lasts for, let's say, 2 months. Take a week or two to myself afterwards. 3 weeks to a month dating. Find someone, rinse, repeat. I've been doing this for a year and a half. Currently, it's a little bit of a different scenario. Almost 3 months with this woman, and it's very different. Normally, like it just starts out with like a flash and then it kind of dies out. This one, every date seems to be getting better and better.
It's a good sign then.
So yeah.
When you
But
say
dating, uh,
sorry,
sorry,
when you say better and better, what are you referring to?
everything, the conversation, the intimacy, just being around her. Uh, I miss her when she's not around. And when she's around, I just want to like, I don't know, hold her as tight as I can.
No.
I don't know, man. I mean, this could in a week from now fall apart. But right now I'm enjoying the ride. I think we're going to do an episode later on learning to trust again, which is definitely an issue for me.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm really grappling with, but that's not the topic of the show. So I ran into this woman in my neighborhood that I went on 2 dates with last summer. And no chemistry, just some awkward making out. And she's probably at around the Mendoza line, a little below, a little above. She was an okay looking woman, but every woman that I've been with since I stopped, since that second date with that woman has been consistently, the chemistry's been better. They've been more attractive. Things have been smoother. And the funny thing is that this woman, after our second date, me and her texted for a week back and forth. And after I went on a date with this woman and things clicked and we ended up sleeping together, after I walked the woman back to her place, I checked my phone and I got a message from this woman that I went on 2 dates with the awkward chemistry. And it was this long 3-paragraph thing saying, you're a great guy. I think you got a lot going for you. Your dog's really cool, but I'm just not feeling it. I think I'd love to still remain friends. I just responded with like an LOL emoji and be like, we went on 2 dates and we had shitty chemistry. And I ran into her again. And it's just one of these things. I've been on dates with women who I feel are very much out of my league. I never would have thought that these women would go out with me, never mind that I'd get physical with these women. And it's been able to consistently do that. And I've been on dates with women who are just, I'm not attracted to. I don't like, I went on a date with this woman who she was a big woman, pasty white skin, freckles, just like everything I'm not attracted to rolled into one. And she couldn't wait to leave the date. Like she was clawing to get out of there as soon as possible. And it's this level of confusion. Like you figure there'd be this linear progression or this chart versus my attractiveness and their attractiveness and how that would match up. And it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. And it's sort of thing. Yeah.
I don't think chemistry is like inherently attached to attractiveness too.
I could agree. Yeah.
In fact, I think like I know there's women and guys who like to be with more attractive partners, and I know there's guys and women who like to be with, like they feel more comfortable being with more unattractive partners because they feel insecure otherwise, and so it goes both ways.
Right. Listen, I'm cool with being the ugly one in the relationship. I am totally cool with that. Say out of the 14 women I've slept with, I'd say like 10 of them I've been the ugly one out of it. And I'm awesome with that. If I am single again, which I hope not to be, I really like this woman, but anybody out there and women who like to date below their attractiveness level, hit me up. Leave a message, start following us. I am there here in the Seattle area.
That's my kink. I like to be the unattractive one.
Yes, that's my kink. We finally found my kink like 6 episodes in. I'm okay with being the ugly one in the relationship. I'm okay. I'll put in the extra effort in the bedroom. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure you get your big O. Yeah.
Yeah, I've dated models, actresses, exotic dancers, and like for the most part, the more attractive they were, like I'm trying to think through, like I'm trying to recall. Actually, most of them tended to be insecure and kind of needy. Yeah, I feel like most of them were insecure, like that level of girl.
Okay.
It's tricky. I feel like they put up a wall of fake whatever. We're just in the attractiveness conversation,
Whatever. I mean, this is whatever. This is
I,
what we do. We just randomly go off on tangents.
I think as I've gotten,
we're never going to get to our topic.
I think the older I've gotten, the more I care about chemistry, and that comes down to like some part of confidence to be able to flirt with me. And I'm learning. I have a particular flirting style. And like I can adjust to the other person, but I don't like I'm not my happiest doing that, right? Like if I'm modifying to them, really my girlfriend's been the person that's flirted the best with me. And I like it when it's a game of push and pull, and she pushes and pulls. And like to me, that is like the sexiest thing ever. Like that is the most attractive thing in anybody, is that ability to play that game with me.
What do you mean by push and pull?
So in the flirting, I don't like it when a woman is like super overt. Like just grabbing me, kissing me, or whatever, like heavily pursuing me. In fact, it makes me like it makes me like, so if it's just a hookup, that's fine. I can flow with that. But if she's coming just like direct at me, it's not as exciting as if, like I like to think of it as luring. Like she's luring me, right? She flirts a little bit. She puts out something kind of a subtle suggestion and then pulls away kind of shyly because I want to chase.
Okay, that's all you, man. That is all you. Come at me full speed. I hop on my lap, start making out with me, tear off my clothes. The more aggressive you are, the happier I am. I mean, I'll do my part too. Don't worry about that. But I love aggressive women, man. I love women who aren't subtle. That what is it? The thing that the airplanes, the guy in front of the airplanes with these. I don't know what
Yeah. I don't know what they're called either.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like when a woman does that.
Nice.
I was on a date. Yeah, I was on a date last summer with this woman, and I think in another show I'll go into more details. But it was our first date, and we ended up going to this bar. I love this bar. I've been to this bar with probably about 10 different women, and the bartenders never recognize me, which is fantastic. They're never like, "Oh, you're back," because that would be horrible. So we're out on the balcony because, no indoor dining at the time. And it's weird. So I'm wearing boots. So I'm a little taller. She's wearing flats for some reason. And she's in the corner of a bar, and it feels weird, like the height differential, even though she's only a couple inches shorter than me, it feels weird. And I feel the chemistry, and I'm about to go in for a kiss. And I stop. I'm like, this just feels too weird. And then she says something about, that a friend of hers, she said, my friend's ridiculous. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, a friend of mine goes on dates and doesn't kiss a guy till like the third date. That's absolutely ridiculous. I can't imagine not being on a first date and not making out with someone. And I'm like, okay, she just did this pretty much. She's like, let's make out now. I know you tried. I know you were thinking about it. You made a move. I saw it. I'm telling you it's okay. Then immediately they come back to my place and things get hot and steamy from there. So I'm down with that. I mean, push pull's cool too, but just pull is awesome.
I like to make a girl feel flustered, and I want to feel like I'm making them feel flustered and overwhelmed. And so like not so much that they're timid and they're not like they're just like I'm running the whole show. Like that doesn't make me feel comfortable either. I'm like, do you want this or not?
Yeah.
But if they like seem a little flustered, seem a little like teenage excited, little flustered, and then they do something like flash me a look or something that looks like they're into it, then I leap forward and see them kind of get shy. I like it.
It's way too complicated for me. Way too complicated. I just go in for it, man. I'm like, what the hell? And it works. It works. Yeah. A lot of women are like, I've had a lot of women, including the current one, being like, I was really impressed that you just went for it. I knew that you were going to do it. I'm not exactly subtle about it. But they were impressed that I had the balls to do it, for lack of a better word. Because there's a lot of guys that will go on first dates and then second dates and third dates and not have any physical intimacy. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he went 5 dates with this woman, and then they decided it wasn't working out. And I'm like, well, what date did you guys sleep with each other on? He's like, we didn't. And I'm like, you guys went on 5 dates and didn't have sex. Wow. Yeah. He's like, no. I'm like, well, that's your issue. I mean, that's friends right there. If you go on 5 dates with someone and you don't have sex, congratulations, you have a new friend. You know? There's this window of opportunity for the window for chemistry. And you have to, in that period of time, just make a move. And and outside of that, it's gone, right? If you wait too long, I think the worst advice possible is talking about the importance of the goodnight kiss. If the whole date is built around a kiss at the end of the night, no,
Yeah.
forget it, man. That's horrible, horrible. No, you go for a kiss early and often, and see what happens from there. You know. Anyway, okay, let's start with like bad advice that I've read. So there's a couple articles about dating during COVID. This is called Finding Love During COVID. And there were two couples that they interviewed for this that found love during COVID. This is all Seattle area. And they both said that they did 30 hours of virtual dating before going on a single date in person.
Wow.
I know, that's intense. I would not do that.
30 hours.
30 hours. That's a long time. And I'm not on the market. I'm not single for that, however long 30 hours would take. If a woman tried that with me, I mean, I might go along for part of it if I'm not up to anything, but by the time they figured it out, I'd be dating someone. Like, it's just, you snooze, you lose. Like, there's been women who've, you know, maybe tried the push-pull thing on texting with me. And then, you know, a week or two into it, it'd be like, hey, I gotta cut this out. I'm actually dating someone now. You know, it's just, I don't mess around, man. It's just like, it's simple. Either it works or it doesn't work. I mean, this is the big difference between me and your dating styles. I think you'd be like, oh, really? Push pull and still playing around. And I mean, you get excited about that stuff. I get annoyed. The other one was that they wore masks and socially distanced while on dates. I don't know how you can build any type of chemistry on this. I mean, with masks and being a couple feet away, it's hard to hear. The importance of a kiss on a first date. I mean, what are you gonna do? Ask someone to take their mask off? It just, I don't know. It seems like you're just making it more difficult. And, you know, I'll say this, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you do not want to date because of COVID, there is nothing wrong with it. But if you're doing all these things to date during COVID, like wearing masks and social distancing on dates, you're just driving yourself nuts. And there's these stories that you're going to see, and there's going to be more of them as COVID ends, as we're getting to the point where more and more people are getting the vaccines, of stories of people that met and went on these socially awkward first dates where they wore masks and they socially distanced and all these things. And then they did virtual dates. And I'd say for every one success story, you have at least 10,000 misses. Like, it just doesn't work.
No, I totally agree. It's funny because I went on a date with a nurse, and while we were chatting, I was like, hey, let's meet up. And this is like summer last year too.
Yeah.
Kind of like we're still trying to figure out how to do this, and she hadn't seen anybody, and she was a nurse. She worked the COVID floor, so she was freaked out. I was like, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna wear an N95 mask, and she's like, well, I'm gonna wear an N95 mask and a face shield, and I was like, okay, let's do it. So we met up that way. And for sure she wore it. She eventually took the mask off and then was just wearing the face shield while we were like chit-chatting. And then she eventually took that off. And we ended up going back to her place. It was fine. It worked out. But I was like, oh wow, damn, you committed to the face shield and the mask.
Yeah, I've asked women out, and then once I found out they're in the healthcare field, I've just been honest and I'd be like, I don't really feel comfortable with it. There's some nurses and a physician's assistant that, I mean, they worked in the healthcare field, and a couple of them worked on, you know, they were exposed to COVID or they were around people with COVID. And, you know, I said, like, listen, honestly, like, I don't want to take the risk, you know? I've also had women that I've asked out try to figure out how to do a social distancing date. And once I said I'm not down with that, they said, well, why don't you text me whenever we get our vaccines? And I'll be like, cool. I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, it might. I don't know. I don't really think it's going to happen. It's not like I'm like saving these women being like, oh, I'm waiting. But, you know, we'll see. I think that doing this is, there are some success stories. There's always going to be some, but at the end of the day, you're just going to end up with a pen pal. I've had, a small amount of women reach out on Hinge and Facebook that just want to talk back and forth. I ask them on a date and they're like, well, let's just do virtual dates right now. My favorite was a woman said that she's worth the wait. I'm like, no, nobody's worth the wait. I'm not worth the wait. You're not worth the wait. Nobody's worth the wait. She got really upset that I just stopped texting back and unmatched with me, which whatever is what it is. I mean, I asked her out. She said she was uncomfortable with it. I don't know where she expected it to go. That was like the second or third month of lockdown.
Wow. Yeah.
But if I committed to dating that woman, right? And just imagine how many amazing women I would have missed out on and how miserable I'd be, because we'd still be probably doing a virtual date. It would be like, oh, only another month or two, we get vaccines and we can finally meet. And I read another article that's saying that couples that meet virtually, once they finally meet in person, oftentimes it's a disaster because they're filling in the gaps in their mind of what this person is. Because over video chat, you get a good feel of what they look like, but you don't get a full feel of their personality. And maybe the camera hides certain things. Maybe they're doing certain angles, just hiding. And it's a disaster. It's just a letdown.
I know. So I've only been single during coronavirus, this most recent time. And so I didn't know how to start either. And people were talking about virtual dates. I was doing them initially. And there were two people in particular that I did a lot of virtual dates with. One was really gun shy to meet, and I was really interested in her. She had an interesting background, just interesting person. And I don't know, we probably did like 3 virtual dates. We kept having phone calls and virtual dates. And like, I was totally digging her virtually.
Yeah.
And then we met and it was just like, I was like, oh, there's like, you're interesting to talk to. Like we could be friends, but there's no chemistry here. Like it's awkward.
Yeah.
And then another person that I met, again, this is like my first round of meeting people. So it's probably like, I probably met her in the first week. And man, we were like hilarious on text. Like we had perfect chemistry, super funny. Our first virtual date that was like literally my first virtual date. It was 3 hours long. We talked forever.
Yeah.
And then we actually went on maybe like 3 dates, and it just like the chemistry wasn't there. I think she wasn't ready.
Yeah.
She was recently out of a relationship and it just wasn't there. But like totally great friend, but like it just like you were saying, unless you meet, you don't know. Now
Right.
I think for anybody, if there's any guys or anybody listening to this considering virtual dates or socially distanced, like you really have to think about what you're looking for. And I think you're more likely to do with pen pals or a friend if you're going that virtual route.
Yeah, generally, I completely agree with that. Your dating is a bit of a minefield, and you're just adding extra frustration to it. If you're worried about it, don't do it, especially at this point, because in 3-4 months, pretty much everyone's going to have the vaccine. If you've waited a year, or if you virtually dated for a year, you're so frustrated anyway. There's porn sites. Porn sites are great. You got 3-4 months, don't go too crazy on it. But yeah, just don't, it's just incredibly frustrating. It'll frustrate you. The other one was also dating a year during COVID. This is also, side note, this publication is also a publication that in Seattle has talked about a lot of the social problems in Seattle improving when they have not over the last 10 years, such as homeless and crime and things like that. So this publication that I'm about to quote from, I'm not going to name it, but I don't take them very seriously, because they've been really off about reporting what's going on in Seattle.
Okay.
So the first thing, I think this is a good point, is that they started dating right as COVID was starting, before all the restrictions were in place. And the guy showed up without a mask, okay, but with sweatpants. And I'm just thinking, like, really, like, the bar has been set so low for dating for guys our age, because so many guys and women don't know what they're doing. And you just had to lower the bar even more. Like, sweatpants on a date.
That's
The
pretty bold.
best,
It's a bold move.
it's not bold, it's lazy. Lazy. Put some damn effort into your outfit. Anytime I go out on a first date, I am one of the best dressed people in the restaurant or bar. Given that Seattle, so that's not saying a lot, but I put in some effort. I got a nice leather jacket, a button down shirt, boots on, nice pair of jeans, right? I look good on first dates. I'm putting my best foot forward. Don't wear sweatpants. Come on, dude.
Wait, but
Yeah.
have you heard about gray sweatpants season?
Oh no. Am I gonna hate this?
Depends how much you love dick. Colloquially, gray, like women get excited for wintertime because guys start wearing gray sweatpants, like joggers. You can, like, you see a little schlong in the pants. So I'm like, maybe he thought he was being sexy in his gray sweatpants.
I think that's a SoCal thing. I have to talk to my single female friends up here. I've never heard of that.
Gotta ask. Do they know
I will
about
ask.
sweatpants seasons? Gray sweatpants season.
Gray sweatpants season. I'm actually wearing gray sweatpants right now. So,
So am I.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I just got to keep them comfortable. We're sitting here for like an hour or two, right?
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. I'm with you too. I try to dress up. I try to have a slight edge. Almost any event that I go to, I try to have just whatever my style is for that event. I try to, like, jazz it up just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Like, I got this number from a video that I saw on YouTube, and the guy was a total douche. So I wouldn't take it too seriously, but he said 20% better than everyone else in the restaurant. You want to stand out, but not too much. And I think there's something to be said for that, especially for Seattle, which is a very casual city. So once, my date wants to see that I'm putting effort, that I actually, like, showered and cared for what but if I show up in, something really fancy, I'll just seem really out of place for Seattle.
Yeah.
So.
I like that concept across the board. There's a pickup guy, like, guru. And his whole thing is just be 10% better. Like, your texts don't have to be perfect. They have to be 10% better than your average guy. You have to be 10% more interesting. I'm like, I love that idea.
And the bar has been set so low.
It really is.
I can't really get over this. Now, this is, dating, in your late 30s, early 40s. I don't know about the 20 game. I'm not even going to try to, like, talk about that, because I think I'd get destroyed, honestly. But just, like, small little things, like, hey, I had a good time, good night, I want to see you again. Like, small little texts like that, they get such great results.
I agree.
Things like on a third date is usually when I show up with flowers, right?
Whoa, flowers.
Flowers on the third date, yeah.
Wow. Fancy, man.
Dude, that's what I do. Dating me, women who date me after 3 dates, foot rubs, back massages, I cook for them, and flowers. After third date is, like, when I'm starting to think about relationship wise. So I start pulling out, like, test boyfriend material stuff, right? Seeing if it's worth it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different strategy than I do. For me, it's like, I'm gonna not, like, try to change what we have going on until you bring it up to me, and then I'll think if I'm interested or not. That's always been my like it. I just don't think about it. I'm just like, I'm living in this moment. This is what we got going on. This works for me.
I only have so much game of keeping it cool. If I was an NBA player, I'd be like, first quarter, I drop 20 points, and then I'd foul out 3 minutes in the second quarter. Like for the first 2 dates, I'm cool. I keep it together. I control the conversation. Like everything, there's very little surprises. By the third date, I'm like, I like you so much. Yay! So
Oh,
yeah, that's just the way that I am. Other funny thing that came up in this article was King County, which is the county Seattle was, the Department of Public Health put something on Instagram suggesting using a shower curtain for sex, meaning use a glory hole. Right?
Like, do you lay it on the bed? No, it has to be between you, right? Like
Between
what?
you, right? So in the article, they were complaining that a lot of people complain that during sex, the masks keep falling off. Yeah, I know. Like, what?
This mask is defective. Falls off.
Like, I want to know how they get to agreeing to have sex without kissing, while still having their masks on. Like, do they make out with the masks on? Like, there's so many questions, right?
I remember being a kid and reading like during medieval times, like when the kings were having sex with like their new brides, they'd use like a sheet to have sex through so that it would catch all the blood, like the virgin blood to prove she was a virgin.
That's so gross.
We're kind of there, right? Just kind of a little hole in the weird, man. Weird.
I know that's
like,
Seattle's weird. Seattle's fucking weird. I love this city sometimes. There's a lot of good with it. But I mean, I'll put a link when we post the video so you can go, and it's like this little like video of, hey baby, that was really sexy last night. It'd be even sexier if you brought a shower curtain so we could use it because the masks kept falling off. This way, we're not gonna exchange any because COVID is through droplets, spit basically, right?
yeah.
So this way they can have sex. And there's also like different positions you can have, like reverse cowgirl, because that you're not actually in danger of exchanging saliva. Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of all the options. So like squirting, water sports. You could like glide around with oil.
All I know is since I moved to Seattle, started becoming libertarian because I'm like, what the hell are you doing with my tax dollars, man? Like, this is where my money goes to like their Instagram account being like, try reverse cowgirl, use use a glory hole, basically. I'm just like, there are real things, there are real crises in this city, but instead this is what they're spending their money on. So I don't get it. And then it goes into, 6 weeks of virtually dating, and my window for being single will not last that long. There's a lot of times on Hinge where I'll go back and forth with a woman and she'll text me back like a week or two later. I'd be like, hey, I respond with, here's my number. I'm seeing someone. Give me a call in like 2 months.
Do they say anything to that?
I've gotten a couple responses, but no one's ever called me back in 2 months. They think it's funny. I should change it up.
You should be like, sorry, I'm booked for the next 2 months, but we're now scheduling for May and June.
Right. March and April are currently booked, but I do have an opening in late July. I can see if I can fit you in that.
Wow. Get him committed. Get in the calendar.
Get in the calendar. Be like, I scheduled you in. All right. Yes, exactly.
I dig it.
Yeah, there is a one woman that she thought it was really funny, and then I reached out when I was single again, and she never responded. I'm like, okay, whatever. I figured, no harm in building a backbench while you're dating, because it's
I had a freeze.
You could immediately.
Whoa.
Oh, did you hear me?
Sorry.
Yeah.
The last thing I heard.
Yes.
It's my internet connection, so you're probably fine.
I'm good. Oh, this is the
Yeah,
opposite.
that was me. This is opposite today. Yeah.
The opposite.
Okay,
Wow.
we're back.
All right. So yeah, I reached out to one woman who thought it was funny a couple months after I was dating someone and reached out afterwards. No response. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. Um, Another one, again, it talked about outdoor social distance, wearing masks, winter in Seattle. Um, Sounds so cold and miserable. So the woman that I'm seeing right now, I guess my girlfriend, I don't know. She said that our first date was absolutely miserable because even though we were
Wow.
sitting, we were doing outdoor dining, and it was covered overhead, but it was raining that night, and even with the heat lamp right next to us, it was still freezing. I got bonus points for giving her my gloves.
Nice.
Yeah. But again, like, this is a thing, like dating, there's a lot of other things going on with dating, a lot of, do I find this person attractive? Are they easy to talk to? Are they going to steal my kidney? Lots of important questions to ask. Like, why go through this extra bit unless you're truly invested on wanting to date someone? Yeah.
I keep having
Um,
connectivity issues.
I know you just blinked out for a second. Do you want me to just repeat myself about the outdoor? Did you heard about the first date with the current giving her the gloves, right?
That's all I heard in ever since I mentioned that I've been having connectivity issues.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to splice this one too, man.
No worries. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. I
You
didn't
were
say
fine
anything.
though.
Yeah, we're good. Let's just keep going through it.
Okay.
I didn't say anything that big of a deal, and then yeah.
We talked enough here. It
Um,
seems stable, so let's keep going.
yeah, okay. My favorite is this woman who has done a lot of this, has not met someone, is saying, once COVID's over, she's still going to continue to she's going to do at least 3 weeks of virtual dates before meeting a guy in person
Wow.
after COVID. And I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know what the strategy is.
the strategy is that she's going to be a cat lady. That is her strategy. Strategy is that she already has one cat and she wants to get 3 more cats. All right. And then
Hey,
she's going to give them names and knit them little sweaters. And that's the strategy.
I know. Like I know I've mentioned this to you before. I like to do a little FaceTime.
Yeah.
But I'm talking 15, 30 minutes. If we vibe a little bit, that can go longer, but I want to do that before I meet you.
Yeah.
And like I actually use that call to arrange the date.
Yeah.
Just so I know they look like their pictures, I get a sense of their personality, and I know that I still want to see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've actually talked to people where I
I've
was like,
Yeah, I've had several women that I've had phone conversations or FaceTime, like brief 15-20 minute conversations before actually agreeing to go on a date.
yeah,
And it makes sense. I mean, you're about to spend at least an hour, probably a couple hours if it goes well with someone. And you don't want it to be awkward. You don't want it to be where the person took a lot of pictures from that funny angle to show that they're big, or they got a weird, I don't know, something weird with their face, or they smell, or I can't actually tell smell over the phone, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
It makes sense. Um, yeah. So, um, yeah. And then I think you added this in, a little firsthand advice from women on how to,
Oh
that
yeah.
women that just want to hook up. And I found this very educational.
Good. I'm glad. So this came from I think I mentioned earlier when I'm for some reason I'm making younger friends as well. So I'm like during
You,
COVID time, they're more bored. They want to
you,
hang out with old guys.
you need like a cane so you can wag at them, like, be like, kids these days, no respect. Ah. Yeah.
And then also like when my girlfriend and I, when we meet with other people, we kind of talk about dating apps and how they meet people and
Yeah.
what success they've had with various different services. Also with like polyamorous people that I've been meeting during this time. We have a little group that takes walks, and so I ask people like, how do they meet people?
Yeah.
So just for background, none of these women are prudish. Uh, Most of them are either in relationships or they want to have them, but they're also open to hookups. They've gone through like just hookup phases. Which, man, it sounds like Craigslist was like amazing like 10 years ago. By the way, I've heard some crazy stories about Craigslist and casual encounters.
Yeah. When I lived in SoCal, I had a couple buddies who'd be like, I want to get laid. And they'd post something, and 45 minutes, a woman showed up
Wow.
at their door. Yeah.
Apparently it was real. I missed it.
Yeah.
I'm learning there's still some avenues out there, so I might explore some of those in a bit. But
Okay. It did
um,
get shut down because a serial killer used that. I think that's why it got shut down. There was
damn.
like murders or something horrible happened, which is why Craigslist no longer does it.
Yeah, I know there's a few like that have popped up since, and I know like Reddit has some groups and stuff, and it's the same kind of thing. People are like, "Hey, tomorrow night we're looking to do this. Show up, let us know." But the advice I specifically was talking to, I've talked to these women, and this is what I've distilled. They said they're down to hook up, but they want to trust that it's just a hookup, whether that's
Okay.
one time or repeating. They want that to be clear. They like roll their eyes at guys who are like, "Hey, this is just a hookup thing," and then the guys get all like tender and sweet on them and want to have a relationship. It's just really confusing. Is kind of the feedback they gave me.
Okay.
They
All
just
right.
wanted it to be clear, like because they feel like on their side they're committing to not have emotion,
Yeah.
and so they filed this there. Then to have that change during the hookup or after the hookup is really confusing for them. So they're like, I like it when it's clear. Um,
Yeah.
they like.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've been on some dates with women that I think I think that's what they were going for, but they didn't spell it out. There's been a date with a woman that we were on. We went for a walk around Green Lake with our dogs, and it was right after my 41st birthday. And I said, hey, I still have cake and beer at my place. If you give me a ride back to my place, because I don't have a car, we can hang out my roof deck. It was like August or September. It was still gorgeous outside, and we could have ice cream cake and beer. Who doesn't like ice cream cake? So we're on my roof and we're eating ice cream cake and we're talking, and I'm thinking, okay, she is at my place on my roof. Like, there's some like there's got to be an opening for me here. Like this, there's it was before I just went for it. I was more waited for a sign, and I put my plate to the side, like right here. And then I come back and she just hops on my lap and starts making out with me.
Wow.
We went on one second date, and then after that we hung out as friends. And looking back at it, I think she just really wanted a casual hookup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I wish she told me that. Like, I would have been like, cool. I wouldn't have tried for a second date.
I think when I get back into things, I'm gonna ask that pretty upfront. Like, what are you looking for? Like, pretty
Yeah.
close to like the start of the conversation, so they know, I know it's clear.
Yeah.
They also said that like for the sex itself, for it to be like hard and direct, no tender kisses, no hand holding, that stuff's all confusing.
Okay.
Yeah. They also said not overly sexual, like, think about lame guy stuff, right? Like, don't send dick pics. Don't
Don't
only
send
talk about
dick
like,
pics
oh, I want your ride name,
generally.
blah, blah, blah.
Like I don't
No.
think I've never met a woman who'd be like, you know what I want? I want a guy to send me a picture of his penis. I've never, ever heard a woman say that.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think. I've been asked for them, but it's after we've started hooking up.
that's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
It's like,
gotten my power move is pictures with my shirt off. But
it's a good
that's
power move.
PG-13. It's a good power move. You've seen me with my shirt off, like, me and
play.
Curtis send each other post-workout pictures. Yeah, I know it's a little questionable, but whatever.
Just mildly homoerotic, that's all.
We've had this thing going on for, I don't know, 15 years at this point, and our window's gone. It's not going to
we missed it.
happen.
It's too
We
many
missed
dates.
it, man. Too many dates, it's just,
But they said, like they want to hook up with somebody who they think's a real genuine person,
okay.
but that's looking just to hook up for whatever reasons, whatever's going on in their life.
Well,
So they said, be nice, be interesting. They want to know that you're nice, but don't get too deep. They don't want to know about your emotions. They don't want to know about your family, all that stuff. Like, just to say it one more time, like the big thing they kept saying was, do not be confusing. And they
okay.
also said, so for guys who are just looking to hook up, there's women out there that are looking to filter out the fuckboys. And don't bother, right? If they're not looking for
Yeah.
what you're selling, like don't go through it. Don't try to sell them. Don't try to over push it. Just move on. Let them filter you out and find somebody who's down.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right. I wrote rant right here. So I'm going to go on a rant. Well, I didn't write rant, but I'm seeing it. And I was thinking about a rant. So when COVID started, I really thought all the dating apps would just disappear. I'm like, who's going to be on these if nothing's open? And this is the biggest con in America this last year. Anything else is minor, but Match Group has had record profits, and Bumble IPO'd, and good for the woman who started it. She's like 31-year-old billionaire, youngest female billionaire in the world. I mean, that's awesome.
Wow.
Good for her. But they convinced a lot of people to just do video dating. They all put up video dating platforms with guidelines, and they took polls, and people responded positively because they were afraid to date in person. So like, people have signed up and paid money to be pen pals.
Yeah, you're right.
It is the
That's a
ultimate
good
con.
point. That is amazing.
My Lord, like I don't understand how people could be so, I don't know what it is. I mean, in the beginning, we really thought the apocalypse was coming, maybe not. But like after 3 months, we kind of had an idea about what was going on. At least both me and you at that point were going on real dates at that point. But there's people that continually for the entire year just video dated. And there's whole guides on how to keep video dates interesting and doing dinners video dating and all these other things. I don't get it, man. I don't understand, but I go on real dates, so maybe that's why.
It's like they're trying to invent a better version of something that is already solid. And selling it to
well,
you.
they're. You know what it reminds me of? The shake weight, right? The shake weight that.
Yeah.
Right.
My girlfriend was cleaning out her closet and came across an old one.
Oh really? Wow. And then they had the shake weight for guys because that.
Remember.
There was somewhere in a marketing room, there was a bet taken on, can someone sell this absolutely ridiculous product? And they managed to do it. I mean, I know people who own shake weights, and
A lot of people had them.
Yeah. So I think video dating is shake weights for 2020. We're going to look back at this and be like, what the hell were we thinking? But a lot of people have done it.
It's interesting because you had a lot of people stuck at home.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are scared to go out, and you're trying to give them something to do. But you're right. If the goal is to actually find a relationship or to hook up, you're not going to do that video dating.
Right. And there's got to be free video chat apps out there to meet random people. The CEO of Match in an interview were talking about how people are now virtually dating overseas. So you have people in the States going on with people on dates in Europe. And there's the chances of a relationship emerging from that are so small, but people are doing this.
I would have people swipe for me from the Caribbean and other countries, and I'm just or Brazil. For some reason, a bunch of Brazilian women, not feeling it.
Unless they're Brazilian and they live around you. But yeah, no, I get that. It's I don't understand it. So With Hinge, the filters do a really good job. With Facebook, the filters are only for people that you see, not for other people that see you. So I get people from pretty far away from time to time, and I don't really know what to do. Fun fact: the woman I'm dating, she liked me because my filters specifically kept her out because she is beyond 7 miles away from me. I just
Oh,
anything dating beyond 7 miles. Uh, it's just, I don't have a car, so either there's only a couple neighborhoods that we can get to, and it's just kind of a pain. So, I tried dating women outside of the city, and it just always just turned miserable. So,
I have
yeah,
mine
she
set to
also,
9 miles.
yeah,
I don't want to commute far. I don't want to like
right.
have to take that much time to see you and squeeze you into my limited hours.
Pretty much. You on the dating app, you see people being like, "Oh, she's only 60 miles away." And I'm like, is the dating pool where you at so bad that you're gonna drive an hour or two for a woman?
It's
Yeah.
actually funny. So my girlfriend and I, her sister convinced her to try Tinder because she was on Hinge,
Yeah.
and that's where she was planning to meet it. But her filters would have filtered me out. Um,
Ah.
and she was specifically looking for people far away because she was hoping to get like a once a month, once every other month hookup, where like she could do this big drive, go hook up, and cruise home, and just like mellow out on like her off day. That was her plan.
That's not a bad plan. My
And she wanted somebody
original,
away. She wanted somebody away from her world, like somebody
yeah.
she would never cross paths with.
I was originally hoping, and my ex-boss said that she'd do this, and she never did. She had a lot of friends in their late 30s, single, very successful, very busy, don't have a lot of time for dating, but they're looking for something solid, right? So the whole idea was that I'd get, like a VP at like Amazon or Microsoft or Facebook or something who, puts in 60, 70 hours a week. They have one night every other week. They want dinner and sex, and then that's it. And I'd be like, that would be ideal for me. I'd be totally down with that. Seeing a woman twice a month. And that's. But yeah, that never happened. As soon as I was on the dating scene, my boss was like, "Yeah, I'll let you know if I know someone." I'm like, "Oh, you lied to me. That makes me sad. That's okay. I don't take it too. I mean, I do all right for myself, so it's not that big of a deal." Um, yeah, I had a couple of friends who were like, "Yeah, once you're ready, I know people." None of them, none of them came to fruition. None of them were like, "Yeah, I'll set you up with someone."
Yeah, I'm
Um,
like nobody's ever hooked me up with anybody. Like I don't think no, nobody's ever hooked me up with anybody.
no.
I've It's interesting when I got divorced, a bunch of women that I knew from high school have been like reaching out.
Ah,
Some more directly than others. Like some are like, "Hey, by the way, I'm just like looking to hook up. Like I'm available." Others have been a
yeah.
lot more indirect. Um, but several of them came out.
Good.
It's
Oh,
interesting.
that's interesting. Well, I mean, you live close to where you went to high school. Um,
Yeah, about an hour away, but
right.
it's
I'm a
possible.
4 hour flight from Chicago, so it doesn't really work that way. And I'm not really in touch with anyone from high school. I kind of was stoned for most of high school, so I don't really remember much of it. Kind of
Facebook's
just
kept me in
blanked out.
touch. And like
Yeah.
they've even like we're connected on Instagram, so they've been like they watch my stuff, and so we've like stayed in touch
Oh,
casually that
nice.
way.
Nice. Now I'm in touch with a couple people from high school, really randomly. This woman who we were like barely friends, like we were casual acquaintances, like we talk like once a year basically, like and somehow we ended up friends on Facebook, and so that's kind of cool, but weird. She's married with kids, so I'm not thinking, and plus she lives in Scottsdale, which is, way far out of the way. It's not anywhere near Seattle, but that's the only thing, and that has nothing, that's not at all similar to what you're talking about. So I'll just shut the fuck up now.
I like Scottsdale. Shout out to
Scotts,
Scottsdale.
dude, Scottsdale is good. I lived in Tempe and Mesa for 2 years. Scottsdale,
Yeah.
sales happening, man. It's a good place. Next article. This one was my favorite. So 32 red flags on dating profiles. This was like some women's blog, online magazine thing. They polled, I don't know, a couple thousand women of red flags they look for, and they pulled the 32 most common ones. The article really should be called 32 Reasons Why You're Still Single and It's Your Fault. Because some of these are just so, like, you're clearly, if this is what your red flags are, you're not opening yourself up for relationships. And whatever your reasons are, but don't say like, oh, I haven't met anyone, or I haven't this, or I haven't that. Like, this is your fault. Like, I don't have a lot of red flags. Big one is not stealing my kidney, and hates dogs. I think those are the two. Like, if you try to steal my kidney and you don't like dogs,
Wow.
yeah, that's it. Everything else, I'm like, cool. I don't care what your political point of view is, as long as you're not a bigot. I guess that's three. I don't care. I don't really care. Like, I don't have a preference for white or African American or Asian or Latino. I've dated all of them. Liberal, middle of the road, conservative, socialist, whatever. Like, I don't care about these things. And maybe that's why I've always dated very attractive women for, the year and a half and change, because I don't put all these things in there. So the first one was holding a baby that is not yours. And if you're holding a baby in your dating profile, I think you're sending a very strong message that you're interested in kids. Now, I generally will avoid someone's profile like that because I don't want kids. But I mean, if that's what you're looking for, you're putting something out there and you're putting it out there for a reason. I don't understand how that would be a red flag.
I think there's I know it's tricky. I think a lot of parents put pictures of them with a kid, so you can tell they have kids. And I think if I was serious, if I was looking for a serious relationship, I would. And actually, when I started my Tinder, I was open to like serious relationships. So I did put a picture of me and my daughter, but I try to use it as like a show-offy one. So to me, it's kind of like an ultimate pet pick, right? It's like, I got a pet, I can take care of something and not kill it.
To be fair, your daughter's pretty adorable.
She is.
Like,
she's
very, like, you guys post some pictures on Facebook, the two of you, and I'm like, yeah, I date that. I date.
We're at 15 years, man. We're past it.
I know. I'm a little sad from time to time.
So it was like a picture of me doing a push-up with her on my back. So it was also like a little flashy, showing the guns and the shoulders. It's funny because my girlfriend said that she actually she saw that and she was like, oh, okay, so he's not a full douchebag. That was her big concern, is I was going to be a douchebag.
Interesting. Okay.
Because my first picture has me in a button-up, and she's like, "Oh, he's a corporate douchebag." There's another one with me, like with a stogie. She's like, But then I had like a playful gym one, and then I had the one with my daughter, and she was like, "Okay, he's a real guy." Yeah. But then I have a friend who's poly, and she just looks for hookups. Yeah. And she was going through, I asked for feedback on my profile, and she was like, I don't care to see about your hobbies, and I don't care to see about your kids if I'm looking just to hook up with you. So I actually removed it after she said that. I definitely would not be holding a kid that wasn't mine, because I think that just raises a bunch of questions.
Like niece and nephew, friend's kid. I don't know.
Like, it's pretty weird though, right? Like, why are you showing?
No, I have on my Facebook one, I have a picture with my friend's kid.
Does it raise questions? Or people like, is that yours?
I have underneath a little tagline saying this is my niece.
Oh, okay.
And on their dating profile, you say if you have kids or not. I mean, I do. I don't know about other people.
Okay, so in Hinge, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not in Tinder. There's nothing.
Tinder scares me, man. I have nightmares about Tinder at night. No, I signed up for Tinder, but I never actually paid for it, and I never put a profile on it. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I still could have it if I want, but I don't know. Hinge is free. Like you don't get preferential treatment or anything like that. You'll have more success if you pay for it, but you get like 10 free likes a day, and they have a rose that you can give someone, which is like a super like. And
No.
I've had pretty good success on the free version. I paid
Yeah.
for it when I first started, but then COVID started like a couple weeks later. So it was kind of useless. And then I just never re-upped. They always
The
try
only
to like
one
send me stuff. Yeah.
I tried them all out. I tried all the apps. I tried paying for all of them. The only one that was worth paying for was Tinder because like significantly increased my visibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what Tinder is. Tinder's like, is it World of Warcraft or one of these games where you have to pay for all these extra things to like make it better?
I don't know if it's World of Warcraft, but yeah, I know what you're talking about, like
Yeah.
microtransactions in video games to advance faster. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. And I don't get that, but I'm not a gamer. So, the other one was that if someone says doesn't take life too seriously, or they say no drama, um, evidently women are like, oh, he's going to gaslight me. He's going to say something, and if I get upset, he's going to be like, oh, you take things too seriously. And
Oh
I'm
wow.
like that's a big swing that you're taking right there. That's pretty insane. Like when I see a woman who says doesn't take life too seriously or no drama, and I'm like, yeah, I like that. That's kind of cool. Like just take it day by day, relax. I mean, I've had a little bit of drama in relationships. I dated a woman with a drinking problem. I dated a woman who was it 3 weeks after we started dating, I went to Morocco for 2 weeks because I had a planned vacation. When I came back, she said, never leave me again. So I've had a
Wow.
little bit of drama in dating, and I want someone who doesn't take life too seriously. I mean, there are serious things in life, but dating should be, at least in the beginning, fun and flirty. That's my number one rule for first dates: fun and flirty.
Right.
Um, if you feel the desperate need to talk about politics or death, or I'm trying to think of what other serious ones you shouldn't talk about on a first date, I don't think the first date's really going to be a lot of fun, and you might actually be sabotaging the date for some weird reason. So I don't want to do that. I have some funny family stories that I can tell. The other person hopefully I have cute Betty pictures and Betty stories, because who doesn't like a goofy dog? Travel stories. I talk a little bit about my volunteer work with the homeless that I've done over the years. Like these are all very like safe, fun topics.
Yeah.
I don't want, I'll talk about the homeless thing, and I've had women who be like, well, what do you think we should do for large delicious? I said, listen, I don't know. All I know is I need to do something, and this is what I'm doing, and it makes the world a little bit better of a place, and I'm happy with that, because don't have I don't have the know-how or the ability to solve the homeless problem in Seattle. Like, I fully admit I don't know. I don't have any
Yeah.
great ideas. But I do know that going to encampments and cleaning them up, giving out food, building tiny houses, fundraising, it helps a little bit. And that's what makes me feel good. So like I talk about that on dates and stuff, but I try not to get into like some more serious issues on it.
I
This one I
do.
really, yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. Go.
I have though. Most of the women I know that say no drama are dramatic women.
Yes, that
So I'm a little cautious. I do
that's
like the don't take life too serious, and I do think it's a stretch to say like somebody's gonna gaslight you.
yeah.
If I think in mine I say that I'm looking for people with a positive outlook and a growth mindset, and for me that's like I want someone that's gonna be happy and positive, optimistic.
And that's a good way of spinning it, basically. But you basically said the same thing, but you're saying it a lot more positive. I like that. That's good.
I
If I,
I actually one of the girls I was dating, she said that she writes all her profile in the positives, that she doesn't want to say like no this, no that, no that, because then
yeah,
like she believes you're going to manifest it. That if you're always like, saying what you don't want, you're going to get that. So instead she tries to like speak of it in terms of the positive. So I want this, I want that, I'm looking for this. I was like, oh, I
I
kind of
think that
feel that.
makes more sense to what you're looking for, and just you. the way that you come off on your dating profile is based on, something very shallow and superficial that doesn't involve a lot of thought. So you want to try to be a little funny and optimistic about it, because that gives off the vibe. Nobody wants to go out with someone who, the big one that I often avoid is someone who says no Trump. It's not that I'm a fan of the guy. I didn't vote for him. I'm happy that he's gone, blah, blah, blah. But I know exactly what you're going to want to talk about on the first date. I know if you put that on your dating profile, it's incredibly important, and you're just going to talk about how horrible and awful he is. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it on a first date. I really don't. I want to hear light and fun conversations, and hopefully it ends in sex. That's my first date. The serious, politics, religion, heavy issues, that stuff really should only be approached after a third or fourth date if you're looking to get into a relationship at that point. If you're past the superficial things, which for me is, do I find you attractive? Are you easy to talk to? And do we have physical chemistry? Because those three are most important. Everything else is a minefield, and it could be dealt with. Politics, religion, I don't know what other big ones there are out there. It could all be dealt with if the basics are there. This one I cracked up because I know a lot of women who complain about this. And then guys with fishes in their profile. Like, look, I caught this. A couple of guy friends are like, it portrays masculinity, manliness. I'm like,
do you have guy friends who actually do that?
Yeah.
Where do they live?
Washington State, all around
Really?
Seattle, and in Eastern Washington. Yeah.
Is fishing a big deal out there? Or up there?
That I know of. I mean, I guess I don't know. One of my buddies who does it, I mean, he's an officer in the Marines. And he put it on there. I'm like, why? He's like, it's manly. I mean, he's a good looking dude. So, I mean, it works for him. But, gents, we are better than posting a picture with a fish or any type of dead animal, unless you're cooking the dead animal, right? And by cooking it, meaning you got it from the store, not like you cooking a fish over a campfire. I mean, that could work maybe, but we're better than this. Be better. Don't lower the bar. Try to raise it. I saw that.
It's funny because I hear it come up a lot. Like women talk about the fishing photos. And I'm like, where are these dudes? Like, this is not a big city thing, is it? Like, I don't know.
Even in Seattle, I've talked to women and they show me dating profile pictures and stuff. Like,
wow.
And they're like that. And then occasionally you get a guy who has a gun and then there's a dead deer.
I wonder if it's like I'm a provider, like some sort of like anthropological desire to show I'm a provider. I can kill things.
You might as well have a picture of you smoking cigars with $100 bills at that point, right? It's like,
that's interesting,
man. But I think so. My thing is, for dating profile, I try to think of the female perspective and what they're looking for, right? And if you put something with a dead animal that you've caught or killed, I think you're looking at it from the male perspective. And if you want to have sex with other dudes, then go for it. This, with all my knowledge of the gay community, which is none. But, really, when you're putting your dating profile out there, think about what women are looking for. And I did research. I mean, I read a ton of female blogs for months and months and months about pros and cons about dating, which is why I can look at this article and I just start cracking up, because I know which one of these are legit and one of these are just women making excuses for why they're single. Like this next one is, people talk about what they love and they're like, I love sushi, I love pizza, I love coffee, right? And this is the thing, is like, that's so generic. Try to take a risk on some crazy food that you like. And I'm like, no, I think it's really smart to do that, because to have a generic food that you like is a great first date, right? Oh, you love pizza. I live right by this great pizza place. Do you want to check it out? Oh, I know this great sushi place, this great coffee place. You're into beers. I know this great brewery by me. It's an opener. Don't complain if a guy says he likes, I don't know, think of some really exotic food that you can't get up here. I don't know. Some sort of English food that, I don't know, English food sounds horrible and it looks horrible. Spotted dick. I know it from a movie as a kid. It looks disgusting, right? If you put that on your dating profile, I mean, it's unique. You'll stand out, but no one's going to be like, I know a place that serves spotted dick. Let's go have spotted dick together, right?
It's funny because I have a buddy who used to talk about pizza during his text game, but he did it in a really good way, right? He'd say like, he'd ask about their favorite toppings, or like which toppings are better. He actually had some really interesting conversations that opened up. But I do know, at least from my perspective, like at least around here, every girl is into sushi, and I love sushi. Don't get me wrong, I love sushi. It's probably, if I could have one meal every day, it'd probably be sushi. But they're all into sushi and they're all into hiking. So I'm like, they all just start to look the same. So I do think there's a balance to like, accessible enough that I can identify with what you're sharing and we can connect on, but not where you're just like everybody else. I think there's some balance to it.
We'll disagree. I have no problem. Be generic. If you're in Seattle and you want me to run across your dating profile, be as generic as you can. Because
generic
I'm okay
and hot.
No, generic and you gotta be like, I mean, attractive. So Seattle, Seattle doesn't have like any 9s or 10s. We've got a couple of 8s, but like 7s are like, yeah. Occasionally you'll see an 8 walk by and you'll be like, damn, like, is this a mirage? Right?
Seattle, what's going on?
It's just, I mean, listen, I'm like a 5, so dating a 7 is awesome for me. I'm ecstatic about it. But yeah, there are not, the women I remember in SoCal walking around there are a lot more, and it's because of the sunny climate. It's because of the industries down there. I mean, up here it's all tech. Nobody's coming up here for a modeling career or to break into the business or anything like that. And ain't nothing wrong with being a 7. 7s are phenomenal in my book. I love me some 7s, but yeah, you don't see 9s or 10s in this city.
Actually, funny. I don't remember if I talked about this on one of the podcasts, but I used to travel up to, man, I know we talked about this personally, but I don't know if, I used to go to San Francisco. Did I talk about it on the podcast or personally with us?
I don't remember. Why don't you talk about it anyway?
Yeah, I'll make it short. So I used to travel up there for, I don't know, almost 20 years at this point for work. And I'd go up there quarterly, and man, like the girls used to be dressed really down, wearing like Columbia gear, like warm weather gear all the time, no makeup.
Seattle.
Yeah, it's kind of
like makeup here.
Like very limited makeup. I'd see girls right at the airport, at restaurants and stuff. And then as the tech boom took off, I'm like, these are starting to look like LA chicks. Really? Lots of makeup, plastic surgery, clothes is getting skimpier, it's getting flashier. I'm like, whoa, something happened. Like the city changed.
If you go across the lake to Bellevue, you might see more of that.
Oh, interesting. What's in Bellevue?
Bellevue and Seattle are night and day.
What's in Bellevue? That's like Navy, right?
No, that's not the Navy. Bellevue is, it started out as like a suburb of Seattle, but it kind of took off on its own. And a lot of people who are frustrated with the problems of Seattle moved to Bellevue. It's more expensive to live there, but they've got like a bunch of plastic surgery offices for doctors and stuff out there, and tanning salons and like all these things. And Seattle's very like button dressed down. Bellevue's very like fancy.
Gotcha.
but I haven't been to Bellevue in 2-3 years at this point. So yeah.
It's funny because I'm born and raised in California, so when I started traveling around the U.S., I started to notice like, oh, people get more dressed up in SoCal than in other states for the most part.
Yeah. New York is where women get the most dressed up. That's what
Yeah,
I've seen. Like
New
I've
York's,
dated
yeah.
a couple of women here who just moved from New York, and they showed up, and I was just like, wow, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Makeup done perfectly, everything perfect. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one pissed me off because they said they hate when someone says they're looking for a partner in crime or an adventure buddy. So me and my ex, prior to, I'd say the last 2-3 years of our marriage, were actually, things were pretty good. And I'd often describe her as my partner in crime. One of my favorite stories is at my brother's wedding. My brother gave me some poem to read, asked my phone to read a poem, and I thought he was going to have me read a Shel Silverstein poem because as a kid we loved Shel Silverstein, and it turned out to be some, I don't know, it was kind of a sappy poem. And as my brother gave this to me, he said, "Listen, don't laugh while you're reading it. Get it all out of your way before," right? So my ex is in the front row when I get called up to read it, and I'm just reading it like this, and I'm not looking at the audience at all because in the front, my ex is making faces at me, trying to get me to laugh.
Wow.
Yeah. So like she was my partner in crime, and it was my adventure buddy. Like we do things together, and it was just fun. I like the whole idea of a partner in crime, someone who does things. Later on at my brother's wedding, my nephew, who has a baby face, he was like 14, 15 at the time. He was sitting at the table with us. The waiter came around, red or white, gets to him, about to pour, sees that he's a kid, stops. My ex, in a very, very motherly way, pats the waiter on the shoulder and says, no, it's okay. You can give him alcohol. And he just like shrugs his shoulders like, okay. And then my nephew gets rip roaring drunk at the wedding. And it was just like, it was cool. It was fun. It was like someone that I liked being around with, someone who brings a little chaos anywhere they go. Not enough that it throws your whole life into disarray, but it just makes things fun. And
Yeah.
I don't know, partner in crime is important to me.
I like it too. And I actually like those words too, especially if I was like advertising for, I always try to throw out like adventure, the word adventure is in my profiles. Like that word's always followed me. Because I do want somebody to go out with and have adventures with. I want them to expect that.
Definitely. Like, you need dating to be fun. You need someone that you want to be with, that you're going to do fun things with. You're going to go on road trips and vacations and whatnot, beyond just spend every date at home watching Netflix and making dinner or something, which is fine. I mean, it's good to do that, but you need to do other things besides that.
Yeah.
This one really bugged me because, and it says having a guy talking about the fact that they have a house.
Is that like specifically in their profile or on the date?
I don't know, but I mean, a house is a pretty big deal. I saw this meme or whatever it was on Instagram, and it was saying, as a kid, I'd watch Homer Simpson and I think, he's a fat loser. Now that I'm in my 30s, he's married with kids, owns a house and a stable job. I'm the loser. And I'm like, I think there's something to it. Like, I own my place in a very expensive city. I mean, it's cheap compared to where you live, but it's an accomplishment. For me, it definitely shows planning.
It is. I agree. I think and I don't think it's anything. I think it's how it comes up, right? I have spoken to women who have guys that are like, behold, I have a house and a car. And I want you to be my wife. I will own you now, and you will live in my house. So maybe that's what they're referring to. But yeah,
they also have like the Princess Leia gold bikini.
I mean, mandatory. It comes with every house, right?
It comes with that. The second you come in, you need to try this on.
That's funny. That's a funny one. But
Nice.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. This one was like only talking about working out on their profile or like, and it's pre-COVID, I get it, but during COVID, there's not a lot else to do. I mean, what do? I work out, I run, I lift weights, and I work. I mean, there's not much else I can really do right now. Oh, and I hang out with my dog. Like, what else am I going to talk about on my dating profile? Like a little realistic. This one really got me because, especially in Seattle, it's just a way for, I think, people to sabotage. It's if you say you're a moderate, you're apolitical, or you listen to Joe Rogan, that's code for you're a MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter.
Yeah.
That's a big leap right there.
That one drives me crazy. I've been a big fan of Joe like a long time, like since the 90s. I used to watch news radio. I used to watch his
News radio
stand-up.
is funny. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
He played like this himbo. He was like this ditzy guy. I was an early UFC fan. I was in martial arts most of my life, and I used to be on his forum. I used to go watch his stand-up live. It actually used to
Yeah.
be pretty bad back in the day. He had some seasons. He had some seasons that were bad.
Yeah.
I remember listening to the first podcast live.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And it was horrible. They did like these weird like effects on it. Like it was a horrible job. It's come a long way. But I really think, and it's funny because now it's like he's become so common, and so many guys are like, oh, I love Joe. That I think a lot of women roll their eyes, maybe like the sushi and hiking thing. But I think early on he defined this kind of he became a voice of like this new version of masculinity that's like less toxic than previous versions. He focused on health, fighting. He was willing to entertain, explore his own unpopular opinions, explore other people's unpopular opinions.
Right.
And at the same time, he's always been really self-reflective. He'll admit when he's wrong. He'll go back like, oh, a couple of years ago, I don't know what was going on. I was thinking about this. And sometimes he just lets go and he gets silly. And sometimes
Yeah.
he's like provocative in being silly. It really reminds me of hanging out with guy friends.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think Joe Rogan gets masculinity what it is in the United States right now, at least my version of it.
Yeah.
You look at every year when he does either October, November, he does like a healthy thing with his friends.
Sober October.
And Sober October. And I mean, his buddies are two of them are incredibly overweight. One of them is this tall, skinny, goofy Jewish dude. Ari, yeah. And it's interesting. I've actually heard Ari talk a little bit, and I'm like, we had similar childhoods. That's weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ari's interesting. I like Ari.
Yeah. He grew up in an observant Jewish household, and he studied in Israel for a year, which I did too. I remember he was talking about it, and I'm like, whoa, wow. I wonder if we crossed paths because I think we're around the same age. I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like people have these. I feel that people fear what they don't understand, and no one's really if you've listened to 3 or 4 episodes of Rogan, his one with Elon Musk or Neil deGrasse Tyson, or anytime he has a comedian on, you get a really good opinion of him. He's just kind of like laid back guy. He doesn't have any, he's got some opinions which I strongly disagree with.
Yeah,
but
same for me too.
He doesn't rag on women. He just, kind of talks about how he sees the world. And I think majority of the guys can find something to identify with it. He's a dude in his mid 50s who's in decent shape, but he's not, he's not obsessed about what he looks like. He's not, he's obviously really rich, but he doesn't talk about his money on the show or anything like that. He's just very relatable.
He is. I fully agree. I know a lot of, I've actually, my girlfriend, her ex was really into him. And so when I mentioned Joe Rogan, she like rolled her eyes. But she said that he bought into anything Joe said, like 100%. I'm like, okay, well, that's like a personality problem. I disagree with Joe on a lot. But like I said, he's willing to admit when he's wrong. He's willing to change his, over years, right? Like 5-10 years, he's able to look back and be like, yeah, I was on a thing. He was really bad with the mask thing. He has bad science, but he doesn't pretend to be a scientist. He doesn't pretend to be intelligent.
he calls himself an idiot all the time. He's like, I'm an idiot. What the fuck do I know? He said, like, if you're listening to me for advice and science, you have bigger problems. And I think that just makes he's a goofy dude that likes talking to people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can identify with that. You can identify with that.
Actually, you mentioned the Neil deGrasse Tyson episode.
Yeah.
He used to question, like, he's always been in conspiracy theories, from like Bigfoot to Loch Ness to like landing on the moon. So he's talked about that one. Then he had Neil deGrasse Tyson on. He was like, come on, now let's talk about it. Is it possible? And Neil was like, no, stop being stupid. And he was like, okay, I've been wrong all these years. Sorry.
I know. I think it's a good quality that I try to have. It's recognize when you're talking to someone who is more knowledgeable than you and just listen. It's important. Like, it reminds me of hanging out with guy friends. And I think this kind of points to something a little bit more Seattle-like, which Seattle's a little nutty. We have at least one, possibly more, open socialist in our city council. And I'm not talking like Western European style socialism. I'm talking like former Soviet Union socialism. We've got, Chad, which was, they changed it to Chop because Chad sounds like an 80s character that roofies women. Oh, Chad. Because the 80s, that's what things were like. Movies were whatever. But I mean, basically, it had signs going in. You were leaving the United States and you're in the Capitol Hill Autonomous District. And the police were gone for 2 weeks. And then people realized it's Capitol Hill where people get drunk and shoot at each other. So that's what happened. And the police came in. Yeah, that's Capitol Hill there. Yeah. Seattle's a little nutty. Capitol Hill is probably my least favorite neighborhood in Seattle. Lot of overly crowded bars and restaurants, trash on the street, people getting drunk and starting fights with each other. Yeah, I don't know why people like the neighborhood. I think it's disgusting. I love where I live, man. Where I live, lots of cool bars and restaurants, laid back, very few fights. Can't think of the last time there was a shooting in my neighborhood. There was a stabbing here like 5 years ago. That's the last thing that I remember.
There was a drug deal gone bad in your neighborhood one time, remember?
I remember. Yes. That's right. We smoked some good weed after that.
We did, picking it out of the grass.
Seriously. So Curtis and his ex visited me and my ex in Seattle. And I think we were getting some sort of supplements or something, and get this call from your ex being like, there's something going on in the street. I'm calling the cops. She's just like really just worked up. And we get back and the police are out there and they're with a broom and they're sweeping something off the street. And your ex was, I think maybe she was talking to you on the phone or something about what to get. And in front of my building, there was these two guys and this woman, and the two guys were just punching at each other. And the woman said, stop it, you're killing him, you're going to kill him. And then your ex, yes, I'm calling the cops. And the guys go in opposite direction. And they're holding this backpack full of weed. And this was, I don't know, 10 years ago before pot was legal in Seattle. And the backpack tears open. And all this pot falls onto the street.
A lot,
like several pounds of it.
It'd be like a duffel bag or something. It was huge.
Yeah. And by the time we got there, I mean, I thought it was too late because according to our exes, like people just poured out on the street once they realized what it was. And we got there when the cops were there and all the windows were closed and the lights were off. Everyone was getting stoned. And then the next morning I'm walking my dog and he starts sniffing at things. And I look at it and it's this giant thing of weed. And I'm like, little man, you are not getting it. And then we got stoned, and
yeah, we did.
that was fun.
Nugs going on for blocks.
I know, it was crazy. It was like 2-3 blocks of just these giant little, they're like this big. That's awesome. Good times. Those good times. Yeah, but Seattle's kind of nutty, man. So you get women who on their dating profiles put these things on there. And, I've looked at women who put on their profiles, I'm only into guys who are into hard left politics. And I'm like, hey, it's cool that you put it on there because that means that you're an automatic no for me. Like, I'm not going to swipe right or what, I'm going to give you the thumbs up, whatever. But you kind of are just making excuses for yourself being single. And this kind of, I think this is one thing that I saw on there that I thought was really cool was that women minorly changing dates during the planning periods to see how flexible the guy is. I didn't realize this, but I think women have done this with me. And for me, it's not a big deal. But if I suggest a night, or like if I say, hey, can we meet at 7? They'll say, why don't we meet at 6? Why don't we meet at 8? Or, hey, do you want to do Tuesday or can we do Wednesday instead? Just showing how flexible you are, because evidently there's guys out there that get really upset over this. I can't imagine. Dude, if you're getting upset.
It's absolutely true. There's a subreddit. I forget what it's called. Nice Guys. It's called Nice Guys.
I hate it already.
You can see all the texts of dudes just blowing up at chicks for crazy things. And I'll show them like, hey, does this stuff happen? I've shown it to my friends. I've shown it to women I've dated. And they're like, oh yeah, all the time. I'm like, what? So I do think they do things to filter out dudes or just to test to make sure that you're cool and you hold your shit together.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if they're going to do this minor thing that I don't care. It's not if a woman cancels on me, it's over. But if she says, hey, if it cancels on me and doesn't try to reschedule, right? Then I'm like, forget it. But if, a woman says, hey, something came up, let's do this tomorrow night instead. I'm like, okay. I mean, things happen. Life gets in the way. You got to be flexible.
Yeah.
That's insane. So 2 more articles. God, this is going to be like our longest one so far. This one that I found really interesting because this was a fat lesbian woman, and she confessed that she called herself a fat lesbian.
You read a lot of dating articles, man.
Oh, dude, I read a ton of them. Oh my God. Yes. I love reading dating articles. It's funny because all the ones from a guy's perspective disappeared like a year ago because I stopped reading them because Google just says, oh, this is what you like to read. So it gives you more of that. So there's a ton of them. I read a ton of stuff from a female perspective, man, because that's what I'm trying to date. There's a ton of stuff on working out, like Men's Health and Athlean-X, and push-up challenges and like healthy stuff for that. But I don't really care. A lot of the guy advice for dating that I've seen, I don't like. I feel a lot of it is very aggressive, cocky to a point. I hate that people use the word teasing, like you need to tease your date. I think of like a 5-year-old boy who likes a 5-year-old girl and pulling her hair. It sounds so horrible. Like, you don't tease someone. You be like, you have a conversation with them, and if there's interest, you go for it. You don't make fun of them.
I'm a natural teaser, so.
Yeah, we're a little different. It seems so. I figured out what works for myself, and I've been very successful. And it hasn't really gelled with major dating advice out there. I think think things are a little contrary, I walk away very easily if I don't see it going somewhere. If a woman responds with a text that's just really weird, I'm like, okay, I don't want anything to do with this. If she's unenthusiastic about it, I think the one thing that I heard that I liked from dating advice is think in terms of abundance. Because in this city, there's at least 2,000 women in my age group that I can date happily, that I'd be attracted to. So, I'm on 15 right now. So, if that doesn't work out, and I really like this woman, I'm hoping it will work out. But if not, yeah, I'll be done. I'll be sad for a week or two, but I'll get back on it. And, there's another 1,985 women for me to date, at least in this city. So if it doesn't work out, it's not that big of a deal.
I like that you did the math on it.
Yeah. I'm an engineer. Smart like that. You know what? Let's kind of wrap this one up a little bit. It's been like 2 hours at this point, and we can finish this off another one. I've got
that works for me, man.
2 more articles in my rant about defensive dating. So let's just go down to the end of it. All right. So if you know someone who's going through a divorce, needs to talk to someone who's been through it, reach out. We are there for you. If you know someone who's own divorce and, happier than their divorce, wants to come on the show, we want to hear your story. Talk to us. Like, subscribe, share, love us. We're amazing.
Awesome. Wow. Fantastic.
Yes.
Sounds great. Right. Yeah, like and subscribe. It really helps us out with the algorithms. So we appreciate you guys listening.
All right. Later.
Peace.